The rain hammered against the window panes like 1,000 tiny accusations, but inside the Hale house, the air hung thick with something far more dangerous. Silence broken only by the creak of floorboards under Marcus Hale's deliberate steps. Grayson Ellis froze mid-laugh, his best friend Ethan's joke dying on his lips as Marcus's hand brushed, not accidentally, along the small of Grayson's back, a touch that lingered like smoke from a forbidden fire. In that split second, with Laura humming in the kitchen just beyond the doorway, Grayson felt the world tilt, his heart slamming against his ribs as if it knew this was the line they could never uncross. Seattle in late autumn was a city built for secrets, its perpetual drizzle weaving through the evergreens and fogging the glass of coffee shop windows where dreams dissolved into the steam of overpriced lattes. Grayson had come to love it here, or at least that's what he told himself on the long bus rides from his cramped apartment in Capitol Hill back to the suburbs where the Hales lived. At 22, fresh out of the University of Washington with a degree in graphic design that felt more like a placeholder than a passion, Grayson navigated life like a sketch half erased. Outlines clear but colors bleeding into uncertainty. His parents back in Spokane had hoped for stability, a steady job at some tech firm overlooking Puget Sound. But Grayson preferred the freelance gigs that let him vanish into his laptop screen, crafting logos for indie bands and queer zines that echoed the quiet ache in his chest. Ethan Hale was the anchor in all that drift, the one constant since freshman orientation when they'd bonded over shared disdain for the mandatory icebreakers. Ethan, with his easy grin and surfer boy curls that never quite tamed, was the kind of guy who made friends without trying. Captain of the ultimate frisbee team, part-time barista at a spot in Fremont, always dragging Grayson to dive bars where the craft IPAs flowed and the jukebox played Springsteen covers. They were inseparable, or so Grayson believed, until the Hales family dinners started feeling less like refuge and more like a stage where his gaze lingered too long on the man at the head of the table. Marcus Hale was 47, a high school history teacher who coached the soccer team on weekends, his broad shoulders filling out flannel shirts like they were made for him. He had the kind of face that time had etched with laugh lines around salt and pepper eyes, hair cropped close in a way that spoke of discipline without vanity. Married to Laura for 25 years, they were the picture of suburban solidity. Her as a nurse at Swedish Medical, him quoting Lincoln in the classroom while fixing leaky faucets at home. Their house in Shoreline, a modest craftsman with a wraparound porch and a backyard that backed onto a ravine, smelled of pine from the nearby woods and the faint yeast of Laura's sourdough starters. It was the kind of place where Grayson had crashed more nights than he could count, sprawled on the guest room futon after late-night Xbox marathons with Ethan. But lately, the air between Grayson and Marcus had thickened, charged with glances that stretched across the breakfast table like invisible threads. It started innocently enough. A compliment on Grayson's latest tattoo. A black ink compass rose on his forearm that Marcus had traced with his thumb during a backyard barbecue, the touch dismissed as paternal warmth. Grayson had laughed it off, heat rising in his cheeks, but the memory clung like damp Seattle fog. Ethan never noticed, too busy scrolling memes or planning their next hike up to Rattlesnake Ledge. Laura, with her warm hugs and questions about Grayson's dating life. "Any nice boys catching your eye, sweetie?" Treated him like the son she never had. Tonight, though, the rain had trapped them all inside, Ethan suggesting a movie night to kill the hours before Grayson's bus. They settled in the living room, the leather couch sagging under their weight, popcorn bowl wedged between Ethan and Grayson while Marcus claimed the armchair, feet propped on the ottoman. Laura bustled in with mugs of chamomile tea, her scrubs swapped for yoga pants and a sweater that smelled of lavender. "Don't stay up too late, boys," she said, planting a kiss on Ethan's forehead before retreating upstairs to soak in the tub, the house settling into that deceptive quiet where secrets could bloom. The film was some forgettable action flick, explosions flickering across the screen, but Grayson's attention splintered. Ethan dozed off halfway through, head lolling against Grayson's shoulder, his snores a soft counterpoint to the storm outside. Marcus shifted in his chair, the leather sighing as he leaned forward to snag a handful of popcorn, his knee brushing Grayson's calf. It was nothing, Grayson told himself, just the proximity of bodies in a small space. But then Marcus's hand found the remote on the coffee table, and as he stretched, His fingers grazed the exposed skin where Grayson's hoodie had ridden up, a deliberate slide along the dip of his spine that sent electricity crackling through Grayson's veins. Grayson sucked in a breath, body going rigid as marble. Marcus's eyes met his over the glow of the TV, dark and unreadable, holding there for a beat too long. The apology never came. Instead, Marcus's lips curved in the faintest of smiles, the kind that promised everything and nothing. Ethan's arm draped heavier across Grayson's lap, oblivious, and Laura's footsteps echoed faintly from the bathroom above, water running in rhythmic pulses. Grayson wanted to bolt, to shatter the moment with a cough or a joke, but his limbs betrayed him, rooted by the heat pooling low in his belly, the forbidden pull that had been building like pressure in a fault line. When the credits rolled, Ethan stirred, yawning wide. "Dude, that was brutal. Your turn to pick next time." He slapped Grayson's thigh, oblivious to the tremor that rippled through him. Marcus rose smoothly, clapping Ethan on the shoulder. "I'll grab some leftovers for the road, Gray. Laura's lasagna. Can't send you back to that shoebox empty-handed." His voice was steady, laced with that teacherly timbre that commanded rooms. But his gaze lingered on Grayson as he passed, a brush of knuckles against his elbow that felt like a brand. In the kitchen, under the harsh fluorescence, Marcus plated the food with efficient hands, the domesticity a cruel mask. Grayson hovered by the counter, pulse thundering in his ears. "Thanks, Mr. Hale," he managed, voice scraping like gravel. Marcus set the Tupperware down, stepping closer than necessary, the space between them humming. "Call me Marcus, kid. You've been around long enough." The words were casual, but his eyes, God, those eyes, held a hunger that mirrored Grayson's own buried shame. For a heartbeat, Marcus's hand lifted, as if to adjust Grayson's collar, fingers hovering near his throat where his pulse betrayed him. Then Laura called from upstairs, her voice slicing through. "Marcus, honey, can you bring me my book?" The spell shattered. Marcus stepped back, the mask slipping seamlessly into place. "Duty calls," he murmured, low enough for only Grayson to hear, and handed over the container with a wink that twisted like a knife. Grayson fled into the rain, the bus shelter a cold reprieve, lasagna warming his lap like a guilty secret. Back in his apartment, the city lights blurring through wet glass, he stripped down and stood under the scalding shower, water tracing paths over ink and skin, trying to wash away the imprint of that touch. But it lingered, a ghost in his veins, whispering questions he wasn't ready to answer. What if? And what now? The days blurred into a haze of avoidance and ache. Grayson threw himself into work, pixels and deadlines a safer canvas than the one his mind painted in stolen moments. Ethan texted nonstop, memes, invites to trivia nights at the Alibi Room, complaints about his econ midterm. But Grayson replied in fragments, excuses piling up like unread emails. Stomach bug. He lied when Ethan pushed for a hangout. Freelance crunch. Truth was, the Hale house felt like quicksand now. Marcus's presence a magnet he both craved and feared. Yet the pull was inexorable. A week later, Ethan cornered him at a coffee shop in Ballard, foam art wilting on their cappuccinos. "What's up with you, man? You've been ghosting harder than my ex." Ethan's eyes, so like his father's in their earnest blue, searched Grayson's face. Guilt twisted sharp in Grayson's gut. "Just stuff," he hedged, stirring sugar he didn't need. Ethan leaned in, voice dropping. "Dad asked about you. Said you seemed off last time. Everything cool?" The casual mention landed like a punch. Grayson forced a laugh, brittle as autumn leaves. "Yeah, totally. Tell him hi." But inside, turmoil churned. Marcus had noticed. Of course he had. That touch hadn't been a fluke. It was a door cracked open, inviting Grayson to step through into whatever abyss waited beyond. That night, alone with a half-empty bottle of Pinot from the corner store, Grayson scrolled through old photos on his phone. Ethan and him at Pride last June, rainbows smeared across their cheeks. A group shot at the Hales 4th of July cookout, Marcus flipping burgers with a grin that lit the dusk. Grayson's thumb hovered over delete, but he couldn't. Instead, he typed a message he never sent. I felt it too. The cursor blinked accusation, and he powered off the screen, burying his face in the pillow that smelled faintly of takeout and regret. Little did he know, the line had already been crossed, and the fault line was fracturing wider. Grayson woke to the insistent buzz of his phone, Ethan's name flashing like a warning flare. Dude, emergency. Dad's truck died on the way to school. Can you swing by with the jumper cables from my garage? The plea was laced with that boyish urgency Ethan wielded like a weapon. Impossible to refuse. Grayson groaned, rubbing sleep from his eyes, the remnants of last night's wine pulsing behind his temples. It was barely 8 a.m. The sky outside his window a uniform gray that promised more rain. He glanced at the clock. 40 minutes to shoreline if traffic cooperated on I-5. On my way, he texted back, already regretting it. The drive was a blur of wet asphalt and classic rock on low volume. Springsteen's gravelly voice crooning about highways and heartbreak. A fitting soundtrack for the knot in Grayson's stomach. He spotted the truck first. A battered Ford F-150 marooned on the shoulder near the on-ramp to Aurora Avenue. Hazard lights blinking like a heartbeat. Marcus leaned against the hood, arms crossed over his chest, phone pressed to his ear as he argued with the auto shop. Ethan waved frantically from the passenger side, bundled in a beanie that made him look 12 again. Hey, hero! Ethan called as Grayson pulled up, gravel crunching under his tires. He popped the trunk, fishing out the cables with hands that felt too clumsy, too aware. Marcus ended his call, pocketing the phone with a nod. Appreciate this, Gray. Wouldn't want to leave these clowns stranded. His tone was light, but his eyes, those damn eyes, locked on Grayson's with an intensity that made the air feel thinner. Up close in the morning light, Marcus looked less like the untouchable patriarch and more like a man fraying at the edges. Stubble shadowing his jaw, a faint crease of worry between his brows. They worked in tandem, Ethan chattering about some viral video while Grayson clipped the cables to batteries, sparks of connection jumping where metal met terminal. Marcus's hand steadied his on the clamp, a brief overlap of skin that sent Grayson's pulse skittering. Steady now, Marcus murmured, voice low under the hum of idling engines. Could have been about the cables. It wasn't. Grayson yanked his hand back, heat flooding his face as Ethan oblivious climbed into the cab to rev the engine. By the time the truck roared to life, the rain had picked up, drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. Oh, you won, Marcus said, clapping Grayson's shoulder, firm, lingering just a fraction too long. Ethan leaned out the window. Crash at ours tonight? Mom's making pot roast, and I need your eyes on this pitch for my internship. Grayson opened his mouth to decline, but the words stuck. Sure, he heard himself say, the lie tasting like ash. The afternoon dragged in fits and starts. Grayson holed up in his apartment, sketching aimless designs on his tablet. Swirling vines that twisted into knots, eyes staring out from shadows. His mind replayed the morning in loops. The brush of fingers, the weight of Marcus's gaze. It was wrong, all of it. Ethan was family closer than blood. And Laura, God. Laura with her open heart and weary smiles after double shifts. Grayson paced the narrow confines of his studio, the walls closing in with posters of Basquiat and old concert stubs curling at the edges. He thought of his own coming out at 18, the quiet acceptance from his folks over potluck enchiladas, no fireworks but no fallout either. What would they say to this? Son, you're chasing ghosts in a house that's not yours. By evening, the bus deposited him at the Hale stop, the neighborhood bathed in that bruised purple twilight unique to the Pacific Northwest. The house glowed welcoming from the porch light, steam fogging the windows like breath on glass. Ethan yanked open the door before Grayson could knock, pulling him into a bare hug that smelled of axe and anxiety. Saved my ass today, man. Dad's been weirdly chill about the truck. Thinks you're a wizard. Grayson forced a chuckle, shedding his damp jacket in the entryway, the familiar scent of wood polish and garlic wrapping around him like a too-tight embrace. Dinner unfolded with practiced ease. Laura at the stove, apron dusted with flour, doling out portions with maternal precision. "Grayson, honey, you look peaky. Eating enough in that city jungle?" Her concern was genuine, eyes crinkling with the same warmth that had mended Ethan's scraped knees and broken hearts. Marcus sat at the table's head, unfolding his napkin with deliberate folds, his knee bumping Grayson's under the table. By accident, surely. "He's thriving, Lau. Kid's got talent pouring out." The praise landed soft, but Marcus's foot hooked lightly around Grayson's ankle, a secret tether that made silverware clatter in Grayson's grip. Conversation flowed like the Cabernet Laura poured, stories of Marcus's students staging a mock debate on the New Deal, Ethan's disastrous attempt at sourdough that ended in a smoke alarm symphony. Grayson nodded along, laughing at the right beats, but his skin hummed with awareness, every shift of Marcus's chair a potential spark. After plates cleared, Ethan commandeered the living room for his internship pitch, laptop open on the coffee table, graphs blooming in neon. "So, the apps for local artists connects them to gigs like Uber but for creatives. What do you think?" Grayson leaned in, offering tweaks to the UI, his mind half present as Marcus excused himself to the study, the door clicking shut with ominous finality. Laura retired early, citing an early shift, her goodnight kisses lingering on their cheeks. Ethan, fueled by second helpings, powered through revisions until his yawns stretched operatic. "Crashing," he declared around 10, slapping Grayson's back. "Guest room's yours. Don't let Dad bore you with his Civil War books." The house fell quiet, save for the fridge's hum and the distant patter of rain. Grayson lingered on the couch, scrolling feeds mindlessly, until footsteps approached, soft, deliberate. Marcus appeared in the doorway, sleeves rolled to elbows, a tumbler of scotch in hand. "Can't sleep." His voice was a rumble, inviting confidence. Grayson shook his head, throat dry. "Too much on my mind." Marcus sank onto the couch's arm, close enough that Grayson caught the faint cedar of his cologne. "Want to talk about it?" The question hung, loaded. Grayson's eyes flicked to the study door, then back. "Not sure you'd understand." The silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Marcus set his glass down, hand resting on Grayson's knee. Light at first, then pressing with intent. "Try me." Heat bloomed under the touch, Grayson's breath hitching. He should pull away, invoke Ethan's name like a shield. Instead, his hand covered Marcus's, fingers intertwining in a grip that spoke volumes. Marcus's thumb stroked the inside of Grayson's wrist, tracing the tattoo's edge. "I've seen how you look at me," Marcus whispered, voice roughened by want. "Felt it since that barbecue. You're not alone in this." Grayson's world narrowed to that point of contact, the room fading to shadows and pulse. He leaned in, or maybe Marcus did. Their lips met in a crash of restraint shattering, mouths hungry and unpracticed in their urgency. It was fire and fault. Marcus's free hand cupping Grayson's jaw, stubble rasping against skin. Grayson tasted scotch and salt, his body arching into the kiss as if starved. Upstairs, floorboards creaked, Laura shifting in sleep, and they broke apart, gasping, eyes wide with the recklessness of it. "Jesus," Marcus breathed, forehead pressed to Grayson's. "We can't." "Ethan." The names were anchors pulling them back. Grayson nodded, chest heaving, but the damage was done. The line wasn't just crossed, it was erased. Marcus stood abruptly, raking a hand through his hair. "Guest room. Now." It was command and plea, and Grayson obeyed, fleeing down the hall on legs of jelly. In the dim guest room, door locked with a click that echoed like gunshot, Grayson stripped to boxers and slid under the covers, body thrumming with aftershocks. His phone lit the darkness. A text from Ethan. "Night, bro, love ya." Guilt crashed over him like a wave, cold and unrelenting. What had he done? What was he becoming? Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with kisses and condemnations. Marcus's face morphing into Ethan's, accusation in every line. Morning brought false normalcy. Breakfast chatter, Laura's pancakes stacked high, Ethan recounting a dream about flying sharks. Marcus moved through it all with remote efficiency, his eyes meeting Grayson's only in fleeting, loaded glances over coffee mugs. When Grayson hugged goodbye, Marcus's arms tightened fractionally, a silent soon. The bus ride home was torture. Cityscapes scrolling by in smears of green and gray, Grayson's reflection in the window fractured and flushed. Back in his apartment, he collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped like veins. The kiss replayed in vivid detail. The press of lips, the scrape of teeth, the way Marcus's breath had caught like a prayer. It was everything Grayson had denied himself in hookups that fizzled fast. Boys his age who swiped right but stayed surface. Marcus was depth, danger. A man who knew loss and laughter in equal measure. But the cost? Ethan's trust, Laura's hearth. The fragile web of their quartet loomed like storm clouds massing over the sound. Grayson reached for his sketchpad, pencil flying across the page. Marcus's profile in charcoal smudges, eyes shadowed with secrets. He tore it out, crumpled it, but couldn't burn it. Instead, he tucked it under his mattress, a talisman or a curse. The phone buzzed. Marcus, we need to talk. Park by the ravine. 7 p.m. tomorrow. Ethan at practice. Grayson's thumb hovered, then typed. Okay. The die was cast, and the fallout waited in the wings. The ravine park was a sliver of wildness tucked behind the Hales' backyard. A tangle of ferns and firs that sloped down to a creek swollen with autumn runoff. Grayson arrived early, boots sinking into muddied paths, the air sharp with pine and petrichor. He paced the clearing where they'd played flashlight tag as teens, Ethan whooping triumphs while Marcus refereed with mock sternness. Now, twilight bled purple through the canopy, casting long shadows that mirrored the doubt coiling in Grayson's gut. He shouldn't be here. Should delete the thread, block the number, rebuild the walls before they crumbled entirely. But when Marcus emerged from the tree line, jacket zipped against the chill, Grayson's resolve frayed like old rope. You came, Marcus said, voice carrying soft over the water's murmur. No preamble, just that quiet fact, as if he'd half-expected flight. Grayson nodded, hands shoved deep in his pockets to hide the tremble. Had to. Can't stop thinking. He trailed off, the words too raw for the open air. They walked the loop trail in silence at first, gravel crunching underfoot. The city a distant hum beyond the ridge. Marcus broke it eventually, halting by a fallen log moss-draped like a relic. Last night was a mistake, a beautiful one, but his eyes searched Grayson's, stormy with conflict. I've got a life here, a good one. Laura, she's my rock. Ethan, Christ, he's your brother in all but blood. The enumeration stung, each name a barb embedding deeper. Grayson leaned against a trunk, bark rough against his back. Then why the kiss? Why the touches that aren't accidents? Marcus exhaled, breath fogging in the cooling air. He sat on the log, elbows on knees, staring at the creek as if it held answers. Because I'm selfish. Haven't felt this alive in years. Not since before the wedding, before the mortgage, before the routines that grind you down. He glanced up, vulnerability cracking his facade. You see me, Gray. Not the dad, the husband. Just me. The admission hung heavy, pulling Grayson down beside him, their shoulders brushing in shared gravity. Talk flowed then, halting at first, then spilling like the creek. Marcus unspooling stories of his youth in Tacoma, a closeted kid quoting Whitman in secret journals, the marriage to Laura a safe harbor after college flings that ended in shame. She knows parts, he admitted, voice low. We've had the talks, open marriage whispers, but nothing's crossed that line. Until you. Grayson listened, heart aching with recognition. His own confessions tumbled out. The isolation of coming out in a town that whispered more than it welcomed. The parade of apps that promised connection but delivered echoes. The way Ethan's easy heterosexuality had made Grayson feel like the outlier in their duo. Dusk deepened, fireflies winking like conspirators. Marcus's hand found Grayson's again, lacing fingers with a tenderness that belied the urgency of their first kiss. This could ruin everything, Marcus murmured, even as he leaned in, lips brushing Grayson's temple. Grayson turned, capturing his mouth in a slower burn this time, exploratory and aching. They kissed until breath ran short, hands roaming with restraint. Marcus's palm flat against Grayson's chest, feeling the thunder there. Grayson's fingers threading through Marcus's hair, tugging gently at the graying temples. When they parted, Marcus's eyes were bright, decision flickering. My office at school. Tomorrow. Lunch hour. No one around. It was madness. A stolen hour in fluorescent-lit exile. Grayson should have said no, invoked sanity. I'll be there, he whispered instead, sealing it with another kiss that tasted of pine and peril. The next day dawned brittle, Grayson calling in sick to a client meeting, the lie slipping easy now. He wandered Pike Place under a rare sunbreak, stalls bursting with salmon and tulips, the market's chaos a balm to his nerves. By noon, he was navigating the halls of Shoreline High, backpack slung casual over one shoulder, heart hammering like a freshman on the first day. Marcus's office was tucked in the history wing, door ajar with a sign reading, "Hail drop in any time." Grayson knocked soft, slipping inside at the murmured, "Enter." The room was a time capsule. Maps pinned to walls, bookshelves sagging under biographies of Grant and Douglas, a battered desk piled with graded essays. Marcus rose from his chair, locking the door with a click that echoed final. "You look good," he said, crossing the space in 2 strides, pulling Grayson into an embrace that crushed doubts. They collided again, hungrier now, the risk fueling the fire. Marcus backing Grayson against the desk, lips trailing down his neck as hands slipped under shirts, skin-to-skin electric. It was fevered but fleeting. Shirts rucked up, belts loosened but not undone. Marcus's mouth hot on Grayson's collarbone, whispering praises that made Grayson arch and gasp. "So damn beautiful," Marcus breathed, fingers tracing ribs and hip bones, stopping just shy of more. The bell rang distant, signaling class change, and they sprang apart, straightening clothes with shaky hands. Marcus cupped Grayson's face, thumb stroking his swollen lip. "This is insane, but I don't want to stop." Grayson left dazed, the hallway buzzing with students oblivious to the earthquake in his chest. Back on the bus, he texted Ethan a deflection. "Busy day? Rain check on beers?" Guilt a constant companion now, sharpening every joy with its blade. Evenings blurred into a pattern. Stolen texts lighting up his phone, miss your laugh. Hurried meetups in parking lots or trailheads. Kisses that deepened into touches that tested boundaries. Marcus was a revelation. Patient, attuned, drawing out Grayson's vulnerabilities with questions that pierced. "What do you dream of, beyond the sketches?" Grayson confessed aspirations of illustrating graphic novels, stories of queer heroes navigating shadowed worlds. Marcus listening with the intensity of a man rediscovering wonder. But cracks spiderwebbed. Ethan noticed the distance, cornering Grayson at a Fremont brewery over flights of hazy IPAs. "You're fading on me, Gray. Got a secret boyfriend or what?" The joke landed wrong, Ethan's eyes probing. Grayson choked on his sip, coughing to cover. "Nah, just head down and work. You know how it is." Ethan bought it, mostly, but the seed of suspicion took root, watered by Grayson's increasingly lame excuses. Laura, too, sensed shifts, her hugs lingering, questions veiling concern. "Marcus seems happier lately," she said one Sunday over brunch, mimosas fizzing in crystal flutes. "Must be the new curriculum, or something." Her smile was fond, but Grayson's stomach twisted, fork scraping plate. Marcus, across the table, met his gaze with a flicker of panic masked as affection. The affair bloomed in shadows. A motel on the edge of town one rainy Tuesday, where they shed clothes and inhibitions, bodies entwining in a tangle of limbs and low moans. Marcus's hands mapping Grayson like uncharted territory. "You're everything I didn't know I needed," Marcus gasped afterward, holding Grayson close as the neon sign buzzed outside. Grayson clung back, whispering "I love you" into sweat-damp skin, the words escaping unbidden, true and terrifying. Love. It changed the tenor, sharpening sweetness with desperation. Marcus reciprocated in fragments. Notes slipped into Grayson's jacket. "You make me feel young." Calls late at night when Laura slept, voice husky with longing. But reality intruded. A near miss when Ethan dropped by Marcus's classroom unannounced. Grayson ducking into a supply closet, heart in throat. "Dad, you okay?" Looked flushed. Marcus's laugh was steady. "Just grading marathons, son." Grayson started journaling, pages filling with fevered prose. Odes to Marcus's hands, laments for the life they couldn't claim. His art shifted too, designs bolder, infused with raw emotion that landed him a gig illustrating a queer romance novella. Success tasted bittersweet, achievement shadowed by the lie eroding his core. Then came the first fracture. A text from Marcus. "Can't tonight. Family dinner, anniversary." Grayson paced his apartment. Jealousy a novel poison. Imagining the Hales toasting 25 years, Marcus's hand in Laura's. He downed a beer, then another, the buzz loosening restraint. At midnight, buzzed and bold, he drove to Shoreline, parking down the block, watching the house lights wink out one by one. A silhouette moved in the living room. Marcus, alone now, staring out at the dark. Grayson texted, "Outside." Minutes later, Marcus slipped onto the porch, robe belted loose, pulling Grayson into the shadows of the oaks. "What are you doing here?" Urgency laced the whisper, but his arms wrapped tight. They kissed fierce and frantic, hands fumbling under fabric, the thrill of proximity to the sleeping house amplifying every touch. Footsteps inside, Laura calling soft, and Marcus pulled back, eyes wild. "Go, please." Grayson obeyed, driving home with lips bruised and resolve cracking. The next day brought reckoning. Ethan called, voice edged. "Mom found a receipt in Dad's wallet. Some motel. She thinks it's work. But, Gray, you know anything?" Panic surged, Grayson stammering denials. "No, man. Why would I?" Ethan sighed. "Just talk to him. Something's off." The call ended, leaving Grayson hollow, the web tightening. That evening, Marcus met him at their ravine spot, face drawn. Laura's asking questions. "I burned the receipt, but she's sharp." Guilt warred with desire in his eyes. Grayson stepped close, defiant. "Then end it. Or don't. But choose." Marcus's hand cupped his neck, thumb on pulse. "I choose you. Every damn time." The kiss that followed was vow and violence. Bodies pressing urgent against the log, clothes barriers hastily shoved aside. They made love there, raw and reckless under the stars. Grayson's cries muffled against Marcus's shoulder, the creak bearing witness. Afterward, spent and shivering, Marcus held him. "We'll figure it out. I promise." Grayson wanted to believe, tracing the wedding band on Marcus's finger. A circle unbroken, yet bending. But promises in the dark are fragile things, and the storm was gathering force. Winter crept into Seattle like an uninvited guest, frosting the sound's edges and turning breaths to visible ghosts. Grayson marked time by the spaces between Marcus's calls. Hours that stretched elastic, snapping taut with anticipation. Their rhythm had settled into a precarious dance. Midday trysts in Marcus's classroom when the halls emptied for lunch. Whispered plans coded in texts about grading sessions. Nights when Ethan crashed at a buddy's and Laura pulled overtime, leaving the house a hollow vessel for their occupation. One such night, snow flurrying rare and insistent, Grayson let himself in with the spare key Marcus had pressed into his palm weeks prior. For emergencies. The excuse flimsy as tissue. The house breathed quiet, furnace humming low. The Christmas lights Laura strung twinkling mutely from the mantel. Grayson toed off his boots in the entry, heart a drum roll, ascending the stairs with steps muffled by socked feet. Marcus waited in the master bath, steam curling from the shower like beckoning fingers, door cracked to spill golden light. "You're soaked," Marcus said, pulling him under the spray, water cascading hot over chilled skin. They washed each other with reverence. Soap-slick hands gliding over shoulders, down spines, Marcus's fingers kneading tension from Grayson's neck as lips met soft under the downpour. It was intimacy beyond the physical. Marcus murmuring poetry fragments against Grayson's ear, Whitman lines about bodies electric. Grayson confessing fears of fading into obscurity, his art a lifeline Marcus vowed to nurture. They dried tangled in towels, tumbling to the bed where sheets still held Laura's imprint, the transgression sharpening sensation to knife edge. Afterward, limbs entwined, Marcus traced Grayson's tattoo, voice hushed. This compass, does it point true? Grayson swallowed, the question piercing. Trying to, but you're my north. Laughter rumbled in Marcus's chest. Bittersweet. Flatterer. But I'm lost too, kid. Always have been. They talked until the water ran cold in pipes, plans half-formed. A weekend getaway to the Olympics, a cabin where no names haunted them. Sleep claimed them eventual, Grayson's head on Marcus's chest, the steady thump a lullaby against the world's clamor. Dawn brought rude awakening. Tires on driveway gravel, Laura's car home early from shift, panic galvanized them. Grayson bolting to the guest room, clothes snatched hasty, while Marcus feigned sleep, heart pounding visible under skin. From the crack under the door, Grayson heard her footsteps, the rustle of her bag, a kiss pressed to Marcus's brow. Missed you, she murmured, voice thick with fatigue. The house stirred to life, coffee brewing, and Grayson dressed in silence, slipping out the back as Ethan thundered down for breakfast. The close call lingered like smoke, tainting their next meets with paranoia. Marcus installed a group chat for misdirection. Innocent check-ins masked deeper currents, while Grayson deleted histories obsessively, his phone a Pandora's box. Work provided cover. The novella illustrations consumed him, panels of lovers in shadowed alleys mirroring his own clandestine world. The author's praise a balm to the bruise of secrecy. Ethan, though, pressed harder. They met for ramen in International District, steam rising from bowls like unanswered questions. Dad's been spacey, snapping at refs during games, zoning out at dinner. Ethan's chopsticks paused, eyes narrowing. And you always bailing. What's the deal, Gray? We used to be ride or die. Guilt clawed Grayson's throat, noodles turning to paste. Swear it's just pressure. Gigs kicking my ass. Ethan studied him, then shrugged. Fine. But hit the slopes with me this weekend? Crystal Mountain, Dad's driving. The invitation trapped Grayson. Refusing would raise flags. Yeah. Sounds epic. The ski trip loomed, a minefield of proximity. They caravanned up in the truck, Ethan's shotgun blasting indie playlists. Marcus's eyes meeting Grayson's in the rearview. Promises and perils in every glance. The lodge was rustic charm. Stone fireplace crackling. Rooms divvied with Ethan and Grayson bunking together. Marcus and Laura across the hall. Days blurred in powder and pine. Slopes steep with adrenaline. Lifts humming conversations into clouds. Evenings by the fire, mulled wine loosening tongues. Laura sharing hospital tales while Marcus's foot nudged Grayson's under the table. A Morse code of need. One night, after hot toddies dulled edges, Ethan and Laura retired early. Him to nurse a twisted ankle, her to soak blisters. Grayson lingered, poking logs, until Marcus joined him on the hearth rug, blanket draped casual. Beautiful out there, Marcus said, nodding to the window's winter's cape. Grayson hummed agreement, but his gaze fixed on the fire's dance. Beautiful here too, the words ignited. Marcus pulled him close, kisses tasting of cinnamon and sin, hands wandering bold in the lodge's hush. They didn't hear the creak. Laura, insomnia-driven, padding for water. Her gasp shattered the moment, silhouette frozen in the doorway. Marcus! Shock laced her voice, raw and disbelieving. Grayson scrambled back, face aflame, while Marcus rose slow, hands placating. Lau, it's not. But she fled, sobs echoing down the hall, door slamming like judgment. Chaos erupted. Ethan burst from his room, bleary-eyed. What the hell? Laura's cries drew him, the pieces assembling in horrified increments. Grayson stood rooted, invisible in the fray, until Ethan's gaze landed, betrayal dawning. You! The word was venom, Ethan's fist clenching. Marcus stepped between, voice breaking. Son, let me explain. But Ethan shoved past, rounding on Grayson. My best friend. With my dad? While Mom's right there. The punch connected, knuckles to jaw, pain blooming hot. Grayson staggered, tasting copper, the room spinning with accusations. Laura emerged, face ashen, eyes red-rimmed. Get out. Both of you. Her command brooked no argument, voice steel forged in hurt. Marcus pleaded. We can talk, please. But she turned away, gathering Ethan into arms that trembled. Grayson grabbed his bag, fleeing into the snow-whipped night, truck keys tossed by Marcus in futile gesture. The drive down was blind, wipers battling flurries, tears blurring taillights. Back in the city, Grayson holed up, phone silence to the barrage. Ethan's voicemails raw with rage. How could you betray us like this? Marcus's texts desperate. Meet me. We fixed this. Laura's silence loudest, a void swallowing all. He didn't go to work, sketches abandoned, curling fetal on the couch as isolation closed in. Friends pinged concern, but explanations stuck like thorns. He ghosted them too, the world contracting to four walls and regrets echo. Days bled into a week, Grayson surviving on delivery pho and black coffee, jaw bruised purple fading slow. A knock shattered the stupor. Ethan, uninvited, face thunderous but eyes shadowed with pain. We need to talk. Grayson stepped aside, the apartment a mess of takeout boxes mirroring his chaos. Ethan paced, words tumbling. Mom's filing papers. Dad's a wreck, sleeping on the couch, begging forgiveness. But you, I trusted you. Tears tracked his cheeks, unashamed. Grayson sank to the floor, knees to chest. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. The connection, it was real. Ethan scoffed, but lingered, anger fracturing into grief. Real? While sneaking around our house, Mom found the texts gray, the motel, all of it. Horror gripped Grayson, naivety exposed. Ethan softened fractionally. She's staying with her sister. Dad wants to see you. Says it's his fault, not yours. The offer dangled, treacherous. Grayson shook his head. Can't. Not yet. Ethan left with a nod, door clicking final. Solitude redoubled. Grayson finally cracked his laptop, pouring agony into art. Pages of shattered panels, lovers torn asunder by winter storms, a graphic novel born of ruin. Submissions yielded quick interest, an editor praising the visceral honesty. But validation rang hollow against the void. Marcus appeared unannounced one sleety afternoon, knocking persistent until Grayson relented. He looked haggard, eyes hollowed, flannel hanging loose on frame. Let me in, he pleaded, voice cracked. Inside, he pulled Grayson into desperate hold, kisses frantic with apology. I lost them, because of us. But I can't lose you. Grayson resisted at first, then yielded, bodies crashing together on the rug, reclaiming what fracture had stolen. It was cathartic, tears mingling with sweat, Marcus whispering, forgive me, against skin. But dawn brought clarity's cold light. Over coffee, Marcus outlined plans, divorce papers signed, a small apartment in Ballard, therapy for all. We start fresh. You and me. Grayson searched his face, seeing love but also wreckage. And Ethan? Can we heal that? Marcus deflated. Time. He'll come around. Optimism flickered, fragile as hoarfrost. They met in stolen pockets. Dinners at hole-in-the-wall Ethiopians. Walks along Alki Beach where waves whispered absolution. Grayson's art surged. The novel greenlit for print. Marcus attending readings with pride veiled as friendship. Yet shadows lingered. Ethan's radio silence. Laura's mediated updates through lawyers. The community's whispers filtering back via mutuals. One evening, post-reading at a Queen and bookstore. Applause fading. Marcus pulled Grayson into an alley, passion igniting against brick. Proud of you, he growled, hands possessive. Grayson melted, but a voice sliced through. Gray! Ethan, emerging from the crowd, face paling at the scene. Flight instinct surged, but Ethan blocked, eyes hardening. Still, after everything, Marcus stepped forward, placating. Son, Ethan whirled. Don't. You're both poison now. He stormed off, leaving Grayson adrift in alley shadows, Marcus's comfort a weight rather than wing. The betrayal's echo rippled outward, Grayson's world contracting further. He poured it into canvas, ink bleeding accusations, panels of fractured trust. Success mounted. The book launch loomed, interviews praising his brave vulnerability. But privately, doubt gnawed. Was love worth the pyre? Marcus sensed the drift, doubling efforts. Surprise picnics in Discovery Park. Letters folded into sketch pads with lines from Neruda. It tethered them, but the rope frayed. Then, the call. Laura, voice steady through tears. He's leaving me for you. 25 years. Gone. Grayson hung up, nausea rising, the human cost laid bare. Confrontation brewed that night, Marcus arriving with wine and weariness. She knew it was coming. Grayson paced, voice rising. Knew? Or hoped it wouldn't? Argument escalated, words weapons. Marcus accusing avoidance, Grayson hurling betrayal shards. You chose a family once. Choose now. Marcus recoiled, door slamming in wake. Silence descended, Grayson's apartment a tomb. He texted Ethan. I'm sorry. Truly. Reply came swift. Fix your mess. Solace came unexpected, in art, in long runs along the waterfront where gulls cried freedom, in tentative coffees with old flames who saw his scars without flinching. Healing's first tendril. A gallery show, panels from his novel drawing crowds, Ethan appearing unheralded at the back. No words, just a nod, truce tentative. Marcus watched from afar, eyes pained, but Grayson turned away, stepping into light alone. The line crossed had led here, not end, but evolution's ache. Spring unfurled tentative in Seattle, cherry blossoms shedding petals like confetti on uncertain winds, mirroring the fragile thaw in Grayson's fractured circle. The gallery opening had been a fulcrum, ethereal bodies, the exhibit titled, his graphic novels panels enlarged to wall-sized confessions, lovers entangled in ink and shadow, their embraces both ecstasy and elegy. Ethan's presence lingered in memory. That nod across the crowded room, jaw set but eyes softening at the edges, a bridge extended without fanfare. No words exchanged, but the absence of venom felt like progress. A crack in the ice admitting light. Grayson threw himself into the momentum. The book's release party at Elliott Bay Book Company drawing a queue that snaked past stacks of Kerouac and local lit zines. He signed copies with hands steadied by adrenaline, chatting with fans whose stories echoed his. Queer youths navigating familial fault lines, artists alchemizing pain into pigment. Marcus attended incognito, cap pulled low in the throng. His smile from afar a ghost of warmth, quickly averted when their eyes met. Grayson felt the pull, magnetic and mournful, but held ground, buoyed by the crowd's energy, by Ethan's text post-event. Saw the spread in stranger. Proud, despite. The despite hung, but pride pierced through. Therapy became ritual. Grayson's counselor, a no-nonsense dyke named Riley with salt-streaked hair and an office overlooking Lake Union. Houseboats bobbing like buoys. Sessions unpacked the tangle. Love isn't theft, Grayson, but it demands reckoning. He journaled voraciously, pages filling with unfiltered prose. Letters to Marcus unsent. Apologies to Laura scripted in looping script. Affirmations to self in bold caps. You are worthy beyond the wreckage. Runs lengthened, pounding pavement from Capitol Hill to the locks where salmon leaped upstream, each stride a shedding of shame's weight. Ethan initiated reconciliation over beers at the Elysian, taps flowing amber under Edison bulbs. Mom's settling in Eugene, he started, foam clinging to upper lip. New place, new start. She's, dating a barista, actually. The revelation landed light, a counterweight to their shared loss. Grayson sipped slow, gauging. And you? Ethan shrugged, vulnerability cracking. Pissed. Hurt. But Dad's a mess without her. Therapy. AA meetings for the emotional drinking. He air-quoted, bitterness lacing. He talks about you. Says you saved him, in a way. Grayson winced, beer turning sour. I didn't mean to destroy. Ethan leaned in, voice low. You didn't solo that. He chose. We all did, in pieces. The absolution was partial, but potent, tears pricking, hugged out in the lot under sodium glow. They rebuilt tentative. Pickup games at the park, late-night drives blasting mixtapes, Ethan's laughter thawing the chill. No mention of Marcus, an unspoken embargo. But the air cleared, friendship's embers fanned to flame. Marcus, meanwhile, navigated his own maelstrom. Divorce finalized in quiet court, assets split equitable, Laura walking with grace that shamed. He relocated to a studio in Fremont, walls bare but for a single framed photo of Ethan at 10, gap-toothed grin defiant. Calls to Grayson ceased after the alley standoff, respect or retreat unclear, but glimpses came via Ethan. Dad's coaching summer league. Smiles more. Grayson nodded, ache dulling to ache, channeling it into sequels. Novel 2 sketching a mentor figure redeemed through solitude. Redemption's arc bending toward self. Summer swelled, heat waves rare but relentless, drawing crowds to golden gardens where bonfires dotted dusk. Grayson dated cautiously. A barista named Theo with locks and laugh lines. Their first outing a picnic of falafel and ferry rides. Kisses tentative under Olympic silhouette. Theo saw him, truly. Praised the novel's rawness, shared tales of foster care's scars. But the spark fizzled gentle, friendship's safer harbor. You're healing, Theo said over goodbye coffee. Don't rush the horizon. The pull to Marcus persisted, a tide inexorable. One August eve, Grayson found himself at the ravine, impulse or magnetism, the path familiar as vain. Marcus was there, as if summoned, sitting the log with sketchpad, charcoal smudging fingers. Knew you'd come eventually, he said, no surprise in tone. Grayson halted, distance a buffer. Missed this spot. Lie thin, but Marcus let it pass, gesturing beside. Sit. Draw with me. They did, silence companionable at first, pencils whispering over paper. Marcus rendering the creek's bend, Grayson capturing twisted roots like lovers' limbs. Talk crept in sideways. Marcus's new routine, adjunct classes at community college. Grayson's tour stops, crowds chanting panel quotes. Heard about the book. Ethan's frame sits on my shelf now. Pride warmed his voice, unguarded. Grayson glanced, seeing the man anew. Lines etched deeper, but eyes clearer, unburdened. The sun dipped, painting them gold. Marcus set aside his pad, hand extending. Grayson took it, pull yielding to gravity, bodies aligning in memory's map. The kiss was slow, exploratory, no rush, just reclamation soft. I ended it for us, Marcus murmured against lips. To heal right. Grayson pulled back, searching. Friends. The word tested, vulnerable. Marcus nodded, thumb tracing jaw. Start there. See where the path leads. They parted with hands lingering, promise latent. Grayson walked home lighter, the ravine a bookmark rather than barb. Days folded into pattern. Group hangs with Ethan, Marcus included neutral. Barbecues where laughter bridged gaps, Ethan's toasts slurring fond. Tension simmered low, but civility held, a family reforged in fragments. Autumn returned, leaves carpeting paths in crimson. Grayson's third project underway, a memoir-graphic hybrid, truths veiled in fiction. Launch loomed, invites extended wide. Ethan RSVP'd with +1. A girl from his office named Riley. Coincidence or cosmic, her laugh echoing his counselors. Marcus came solo, front row, applause thunderous post-reading. Afterward, in the signing line, he slid a package across. A leather-bound journal, inscribed inside, to new chapters. Grayson accepted, fingers brushing, spark familiar but tempered. Thank you. Marcus smiled, genuine. Proud always. No more, but enough, closure's gift, opening doors unseen. Yet crisis shadowed. News from Laura via Ethan. Cancer diagnosis, early but aggressive, treatment starting Eugene. The call galvanized. Grayson drove down with Ethan. Road trip stitching old wounds, playlists of shared anthems. At her apartment, sun-dappled and herb-scented, Laura embraced fierce. No grudge in hold. Heard your book's a hit. Knew you had it in you. They talked hours, her resilience, his remorse. Forgiveness flowing easy as tea. Marcus arrived later, separate, his visit private, but Ethan's report soft. They cried. Good tears. The vigil bonded them deeper, Grayson sketching portraits for her wall. Laura fierce in watercolor, strength in every stroke. Treatments progressed, hope flickering, and in the waiting rooms, Grayson and Marcus shared glances. Solidarity over spark. Love evolved to something steadier. Winter solstice brought turning. Ethan's engagement announcement over holiday feast at neutral ground. A Ballard bistro, candles guttering warm. Toasts rang, glasses clinking to futures. Marcus raised to Grayson last. To the artist who taught us all to see. Eyes met, history humming, but Grayson smiled free, unclaimed. Alone later, journal open, Grayson wrote. The line crossed led here. Not ruin, but revelation. Love's not possession. It's the courage to let go, to grow beyond the fault. Pencil stilled, peace settling like snow. But peace, in life's script, is prelude to storm. The new year dawned crisp, Seattle shrugging off winter's shroud with tentative greens pushing through pavement cracks. A metaphor Grayson clung to as his life refracted into prisms of possibility. Ethan's engagement party swelled the Hale orbit. Neutral venue a rooftop in Belltown. String lights twinkling against the Space Needle's glow. Craft cocktails flowing like olive branches. Grayson arrived fashionably late, button-down crisp over jeans, his latest tattoo peeking at collar. A phoenix in subtle line work, rebirth inked fresh. Ethan pulled him into clasp immediate, Riley at side with a praising smile. Brought the good whiskey, Grayson quipped, handing over the bottle, deflection easy now. Marcus mingled periphery, conversation light with aunts and cousins. His gaze finding Grayson's across laughter. Acknowledgement warm, no hunger. Laura made appearance surprise. Chemo's toll paling her but spirit unbowed. Hugging rounds with grace. Look at you, all published and polished, she teased, eyes twinkling. Grayson flushed, murmuring, your strength inspires. Truth plain. She waved it off, but lingered, sharing Eugene updates. Remission whispers, a gardening club blooming friendships. Life pivots, she said, wisdom earned. We follow the turn. The night wove magic tentative. Dances under stars. Ethan's vows previewed earnest. Riley's hand in his steadying force. Grayson partnered platonic with old uni mates. Spins dizzying doubt away, until Marcus tapped shoulder gentle. Dance. Request casual, but pulse quickened. They swayed slow to Coltrane vinyl. Bodies proximate but chaste. Conversation meandering to dreams deferred. Thinking adjunct full-time, Marcus confessed, breath on ear. Maybe write that memoir on teaching queers through history. Grayson nodded, envisioning covers. I'd illustrate. Offer hung, collaboration seed. Post-party. Buzz lingering. Grayson walked home via waterfront. Fairy horns mournful in fog. Phone lit. Marcus text, great night. Thanks for being you. Reply simple. Always. No more, but the always echoed expansive. Spring accelerated arcs. Grayson's novel 2 dropped to acclaim. Tours threading coasts. Portland readings in cat-filled shops. San Francisco panels on queer narrative. Absence amplified clarity. Distance distilling affection to essence pure. Home interludes grounded. Brunches with Ethan and Riley. Wedding plans dissected over mimosas. Grayson's input on invites valued. Marcus joined occasional, dynamic shifted to quartet comfortable. Banter flowing, histories honored without haunting. One May afternoon, post-hike at Green Lake, Ethan pulled Grayson aside. Bench creaking under them. Ducks quacking comic. Therapy's helping, he admitted, voice low. Unpacking the anger. Your family, gray messy, but real. The concession unlocked floodgates. Grayson confessed regrets layered. Tears salt on cheeks. Embrace followed. Brotherhood reaffirmed. The lake's ripple a vow visual. Marcus's memoir progressed. Chapters emailed for feedback. Grayson's marginalia alive with suggestions. Panels sketched in reply, visuals amplifying prose. Their meets evolved. Coffee at Victrola. Pages spread on scarred tables. Debates heated but harmonious. Touch absented, replaced by intellectual intimacy. Sparks intellectual rather than incendiary. "You're brilliant," Grayson said once, pen pausing. Marcus grinned, boyish. "Learned from the best." Laura's remission solidified summer, visit planned collective, Eugene road trip, van loaded with coolers and cards. The drive sang with stories, stops at roadside diners for pie and pit tails. Her home garden burst vibrant, tour ending in tea on porch swing, revelations soft. "I loved him still," Laura shared of Marcus, voice steady. "But love shifts. Now it's peace." Grayson absorbed, nodding. Grateful for that. Trip climaxed in Bonfire Beachside. Oregon coast waves crashing cadence. Marshmallows toasting golden. Ethan proposed formal there. Ring glinting firelit. Riley's yes tear-bright. Cheers erupted. Hugs chaining. Grayson catching Marcus's eye over flames. Shared joy untainted. Back in Seattle, Grayson's world expanded. Gallery collab with Theo, now curator friend. Exhibit on queer resilience drawing crowds diverse. Launch night hummed electric. Panels pulsing under spots. Marcus attending with date. Colleague named Javier. Easy laugh and kind eyes. Introduction awkward but gracious. "Heard your work changed lives," Javier said. Handshake firm. Grayson smiled genuine. Envy absent. "Just stories. Glad they resonate." The site catalyzed shift final. Grayson swiped intentional, matching with Alex, 30, environmental lawyer with dimples and dog named Sage. Profile pic mid-hike, easy confidence radiating. First date. Volunteer at watershed cleanup, gloves muddy, banter flowing over trash bags. Alex listened deep, sharing tales of policy fights and foster siblings, vulnerability matched. Second date. Dinner at his queen and walk up, pasta homemade, Sage curled at feet. Kiss at door soft, promising. Marcus noticed, text shifting tone. "Happy for you." He seems solid. Grayson replied honest. "Learning to trust again." "You too?" Affirmation came. Javier's good. Steady. Relief mutual. Evolution embraced. Autumn wedding approached. Grayson best man duty accepted with honor. Suit fittings laced with jokes. Rehearsal dinner at the Hales' old house. Laura's gift to Ethan, renovated fresh, tables groaning familial. Speeches heartfelt, Grayson's toast weaving threads. "Ethan, you've been my compass through storms. To anchors and new horizons." Eyes glistened, Marcus's clap loudest. Ceremony dawn lit at Gasworks Park. Kites soaring skyward, vows exchanged against relic towers. Grayson stood sentinel. Ring bearer nephew giggling. Alex at side supportive. Hand squeeze subtle. Reception pulse joyful. Dancing wild. Cake smeared faces. Ethan's first spin with Riley ethereal. Night waned. Grayson slipping lakeside for air. Alex joining quiet. "Proud of you," Alex murmured, arm around waist. Grayson leaned, content blooming. Footsteps approached. Marcus. Tie loose. "Beautiful day." Pause waited. Then, "You look happy." Grayson nodded. Alex's presence bridge. "We all do." Marcus extended hand. "To that." Shake sealed, past honored, future unchained. Winter's Eve brought Coda. Grayson's fourth project pitched. Series on chosen families. Arcs intersecting like Seattle's ferries. Editor greenlit enthusiastic. Marcus contributing forward tentative. On lines crossed and bridges built. Acceptance came easy, collaboration pure. One snow-dusted night, Grayson and Alex walked Fremont. Solstice lights twinkling. Sage tugging leash eager. Phone buzzed. Group text. Hales holiday all welcome. Reply collective there. Home expanded, not house but heart. Grayson paused under bridge. Snowflakes melting on lashes. Alex's kiss warm contrast. In that hush, he whispered to stars. "Thank you for the crossing." It led true. But true north shifts, and new storms brew on every horizon. The following spring marked a decade since the line's crossing. Seattle's bloom riotous as ever. magnolias unfurling petals like flags of forgiveness earned. Grayson Ellis, now 32, surveyed his reflection in the studio mirror, hazel eyes steadied by seasons, laugh lines etching joy's map, phoenix tattoo faded but fierce. The apartment had evolved from shoebox to sunlit loft in Ballard, walls alive with his art. Panels from 5 novels, awards propped casual on shelves, a life built deliberate from ashes. Alex had woven seamless into that tapestry. Partner now, ring simple on finger, their wedding a low-key affair on Whidbey Island 2 summers prior, waves crashing blessing, Ethan officiating with vows borrowed from his own. Sage, gray-muzzled, had passed gentle the year before, memorialized in a garden plot they tended joint, herbs thriving defiant. Alex's law work balanced Grayson's creative flux. Mornings in courtrooms advocating for salmon runs and sacred lands, evenings critiquing sketches over stir-fry, his steady presence the quiet gravity Grayson once sought in shadows. Ethan and Riley's family had bloomed too. Twin girls, Lila and Nora, 3 years old now, towhead whirlwinds with Ethan's curls and Riley's curiosity, calling Grayson Uncle Gray in lisps that melted resolve. Visits to their shoreline home, still the old craftsman, Laura reclaiming the porch swing for story hours, filled weekends with chaos joyful. Park picnics where Grayson sketched their antics, bedtime tales spun from novel scraps, laughter echoing halls once heavy with hurt. Marcus Hale, gray threading fuller through hair, had found equilibrium in Javier's orbit. Their union quiet ceremony in Tacoma 5 years back, Grayson invited, attending with Alex in tow, toast lifted to second acts bravely lived. Marcus's adjunct role blossomed into tenure at a community college, his memoir, illustrated by Grayson in panels poignant, a staple in queer-lit courses, royalties funding scholarships for first-gen students. Fatherhood endured transformed. Weekly calls with the girls, Ethan thawing to inclusion, barbecues where Marcus flipped burgers paternal, stories swapped of soccer triumphs and skinned knees. Laura thrived in Eugene, cancer a scar faded, her nursing days traded for advocacy. Nonprofit steering health access for rural queer communities. Garden expanded to community plots yielding veggies shared. Visits reciprocal. Her porch teas laced with wisdom rye. Loves a garden gray. Prune the weeds, water the wild. Her romance with the barista deepened to marriage gentle. A potter named Sam whose mugs cradled their coffees. Home clay-scented and calm. The convergence came unbidden. A milestone dinner proposed by Ethan. 10 years post-fracture, neutral ground at Canlis, skyline vista glittering invitation. Table rounded full, Grayson and Alex, Ethan and Riley with girls fidgeting bows, Marcus and Javier, Laura and Sam. Appetizers arrived, Dungeness crab delicate, conversation meandering safe. Girls' preschool dramas, Alex's latest case on orca protections, Marcus's fall syllabus on indigenous histories. Toasts circled post entrees, wine ruby in stems. Ethan first, voice thick. To family, not blood, but chosen, cracked but whole. Glasses chimed, girls giggling mimic. Laura next. To healing's quiet work, roots deepening unseen. Marcus followed, eyes on Grayson fleeting. To lines that teach, not limit. Grayson swallowed, rising last, words prepared but heart-led. 10 years ago, a touch shattered worlds. But from shards we built mirrors reflecting grace, growth each other. To us, unbroken now. Silence held reverent, then applause soft, embraces chaining post-meal. Outside, valets fetching coats, Grayson lingered with Marcus by the railing, city lights winking below. You were right, Marcus said, voice low. About reckoning. Grayson nodded, hand on arm brief. We all were. Parting hugs all around. Cars dispersing into night, connections threads enduring. Homeward, Alex drove, hand on Grayson's knee, radio humming low folk. Proud of that toast, Alex murmured. Grayson smiled, window fogging breath. Proud of us. Loft welcomed warm, bed indenting familiar. Sleep coming deep, dreams untroubled. Months later, crisis crested subtle. Marcus's call at dawn, voice edged panic.
Javier, Stroke.
Sudden. Hospital now. Grayson rallied immediate. Alex prepping bag. Drive to Tacoma blurred urgency. Waiting room vigil joined Ethan. Riley corralling girls via video. Laura arriving wind-tousled from bus. Javier stabilized. Prognosis hopeful but rehab long. Speech slurred. Mobility challenged. But spirit intact. Jokes cracked feeble from bed. Caregiving rota formed instinctive. Marcus nights at hospital, Grayson mornings with meals and reads. Alex coordinating logistics. Ethan shuttling kids for visits supervised. Laura contributed remote care packages of books and bombs. Weeks wove tight. Bonds stress-tested but holding. Late-night talks in cafeteria. Coffee bitter but companionship sweet. Marcus's gratitude raw. Couldn't without you. Recovery's arc bent slow. Javier homebound eventual. Marcus adapting home ramps and routines. Their love resilient forge. Gratitude dinner months later. Javier's toast slurred but sincere. To village that lifts. Laughter cathartic. Healing's echo. Grayson's art captured it. New series. Threads mended. Panels of hands linking across voids. Exhibits touring coasts. Proceeds to stroke foundations. Launch in Seattle drew full circle. Ethan emceeing, Marcus and Javier front row. Laura Skyping toast. Alex's kiss post-speech grounding. Summer solstice found them collective at the ravine. Picnic sprawl. Girls chasing fireflies. Blankets tartan. Grayson sat with Alex, head on shoulder, watching Marcus teach knots to Lila. Javier's cane propped nearby. Ethan grilling skewers. Riley snapping pics. Laura weaving flower crowns with Nora. Laughter rose, sunset gilding all. In that hush, Grayson traced Alex's palm, future's lines intersecting his. The boy who'd frozen at a touch had become man who embraced fully. Love's layered, not linear. Family fractal, not finite. The line crossed had been catalyst, not curse. Propelling toward authenticity's bloom, humanity's deepest vein. As stars pricked velvet sky, Grayson whispered to Alex, "This is it, the real story." Alex squeezed, eyes reflecting light. Hours ongoing. And so it unfolded, page eternal.